Just Ferries, the podcast about ferries. Today, we will talk about the ferry PRINZ HAMLET for the Prinzenlinien. On May 10, 1972, a new ferry ship for the Prinzenlinien was ordered from the Nobiskrug shipyard in Rendsburg. This shipping company operated on the Hamburg-Harwich line with a sailing time of 21 hours. The ship cost almost 40 million D-marks. A subsidiary of a bank in Hamburg offered shares and advertised the offer under the ship's name PRINZ MALCOLM. The keel-laying of the PRINZ HAMLET with the construction number S679 took place on November 15, 1972. The launching took place on May 26, 1973. In principle, this new ship was based on two other ferries delivered by Nobiskrug, namely the ferry PRINS BERTIL, which entered service in 1964, and the INNISFALLEN from 1969. The INNISFALLEN again being based on the PRINS BERTIL design. The new hull to be built was further developed in its conception from the lines of this ship. Another deck had to be added to meet the shipping company's requirement for a maximum number of berths for passengers. All these measures led to a corresponding increase in the ship's weight, so the draft also increased with the necessary increase in cargo capacity. This was accompanied by changes in the hydrodynamic area. A new bow bulb shape had to be designed to take account the greater draft and change in speed. In addition, the stern tube design based on the principles of Professor Grimm was installed. This reduced the torque fluctuations at the propellers and their transmission to the hull. People interested in ships often ask what a bulbous bow would do. This can clearly be explained using the example of the ferries built at Nobiskrug. The shape of the bulbous bow of PRINS BERTIL led to a reduction in resistance of about 9% compared to a standard straight stem. A few years later, when INNISFALLEN was built based on the plans of the PRINS BERTIL, modifications to the bulbous bow resulted in about 5% less resistance. The new PRINZ HAMLET, we remember that it had to deal with changed shape values due to widening and increased draft, was given an optimized bulbous bow. Based on the contract speed of 22.2 knots, the result was a drag reduction of about 20% compared with INNISFALLEN. In the speed range around 21 knots, there has been an improvement of about 4%. The ship's theoretical calculations for intact and leakage stability were carried out by the Danish Ship Research Institute near Copenhagen and verified by the class GL. These tests yielded promising results regarding the ship's sea properties, later confirmed in regular service. 13 watertight transverse bulkheads divided the hull into 12 watertight compartments. Leak stability studies were prepared for symmetrical and asymmetrical flooding. All these values were based on SOLAS 1960, but the requirements of the German Institution for Statutory Accident Insurance and Prevention, SBG, went beyond this, as the ship was later to receive the German flag. The hull, consisting of German shipbuilding steel, was created using welding, and light metal was used only in the area of the magnetic compass. In the bow was a tunnel for the bow thruster with a diameter of 2 meters. Above the double bottom, the supporting structure consisted of transverse frames spaced 650 millimeters apart, only 610 millimeters at the ends. In addition, there were frame formers and intermediate formers in the area of the ice reinforcement. Up to 4 coats of paint were applied to all plate and section material. Corrosion protection for the outer skin and appendages through zinc anodes was rated for 1.5 years in North Sea water. The deck loading of the car deck was designed for a maximum vehicle axle pressure of 13.0 tons. Finally, we should mention the deck houses. It was a welded steel construction with curved deckhouse front sections, and for those who want to know precisely, the funnel was built from a 5 mm thick steel plate. The new ship was equipped with 2 semi-floating rudders with an area share of 2.35% of the underwater lateral plan, which could be swiveled 35 degrees to either side. Also installed was an AEG Denny Brown fin stabilizer system, which had 4.2 square meters of fin area, a maximum fin load of 29 tons, and a maximum angle of attack of 20 degrees. The system achieved the most significant reduction in roll angles, between 18 and 22 knots of ship speed. In this case, roll angles from 30 degrees to just 3 degrees. The automatically operating unit was connected to the ship's log. In a malfunction at one fin unit, the one in question was shut down. At the same time, the other remained in operation and was still able to achieve a damping performance of about 66% roll reduction. Rescue facilities included 6 motor lifeboats, 20 launchable and 12 ejectable life rafts, with a total capacity of about 1,252 persons. In addition, there were 3 solid rafts for 20 persons each and a sufficient number of life rings and life jackets. In total, the ship was certified to carry a maximum of 1,200 passengers, according to the passenger certificate. Other essential safety equipment included a bulkhead closing system, which could be operated electro-hydraulically from the bridge or manually from the doors. Fire doors with insulating cores that could be released centrally from the bridge were distributed throughout the ferry. A CO2 fire extinguishing system was installed in the entire engine area, while a sprinkler system was chosen for the shop on the cabin deck and a drencher system for the car deck. A smoke and fire alarm system with 40 loops and a display panel on the bridge could be found, as well as fire protection equipment, protection suits, smoke helmets, as well as various fire extinguishers with powder or CO2 fillings, and fire hoses with multi-purpose jet pipes. Passenger facilities were 1970s style. The forward tween deck contained 4-person cabins with fixed lower and folding upper berths. There were also youth hostel-style facilities in the rear tween deck section. Above the car deck, there was a whole cabin deck, whose cabins had their own bathrooms with shower, toilet, a combined sofa bed, folding beds, table, upholstered stools, wardrobe, and suitcase storage. It was even more comfortable because the new PRINZ HAMLET also had a deluxe cabin area on the boat deck with comfortable furnishings. In addition, there was a suite with an entrance, living room, bedroom, and bathroom. Also on the cabin deck was a cabin deck entrance hall with an information desk, passport office, telephone box, baggage room, elevator, examination room, and sick rooms. The restaurant deck above located a restaurant, bar, shop, cafeteria, children's playroom, mother and child room, and washrooms. The boat deck, again above, still offered a disco dance bar, sun decks, and kiosk. The onboard electrical system consisted of a 440-volt and 60 Hz 3-phase system. The power was generated by 3 diesel generator sets in swing-elastic arrangement. The engines, made by Stork Virkspor, SWD, were single-acting 9-cylinder 4-stroke diesel engines with supercharging and intercooling. The propulsion system consisted of 4 6-cylinder TM410 main engines from SWD. These were non-reversible, medium-speed 4-stroke diesel engines with turbocharging and charge air cooling. Various safety devices ensured engine stops in the event of oil mist formation in the crankcase, overspeed and speed reduction to a minimum, insufficient lubricating oil pressure, insufficient cooling water flow, and failure of the control air. Hollow bored intermediate shafts carried the pressure oil housings of the propeller adjustment units. The propeller shafts ran in vibration elastic stern tubes. Behind the simplex stern tube seals sat the propeller hubs with the 4-bladed propellers of 3.25 meters diameter. The controllable pitch propeller system was supplied by Kameva. The system was controlled pneumatically from 2 bridge wing control stations and the engine control room station. The central bridge control station had automatic pitch-speed ratio regulation combiners. An electronic load control system automatically kept a given load constant by changing the propeller pitch. A fixed propeller bow thruster from O&K Tornado was installed in a 3-stage circuit capable of generating a thrust of about 11 tons. The bridge was equipped with various navigation systems, such as a fully electronic autopilot and gyro compass, a radio direction finder, 2 Decca radar systems, a Decca navigator, and an echo sounder. The bridge console was divided and had 2 bridge wing control stations. Loading and unloading were accomplished by a hydraulically lockable stern gate, which also had a breakaway device in case of icing. The usable lane width was 4.97 meters, and the closing time of the gate was about 60 to 70 seconds. 2 hoistable decks were installed in the area of the longitudinal shaft, 5 independently movable sections, the ends of which were designed as ramps, were distributed over the car deck. This system allowed various combinations to be operated since there was a free lane on the port side. After 6 months on the shipyard slipway and a subsequent 4.5-month outfitting phase, the new ferry was delivered to the ferry company on November 8, 1973. Some engaging marketing campaigns followed, which were well received by the people of Hamburg. For example, there was a kind of open ship and attracted tens of thousands of hamburgers. In addition, a facade climber hanging from a helicopter distributed 5,000 travel vouchers over the St. Pauli landing stages, from where the England ferry set sail regularly for Harwich. A ball night with 1,000 guests of honor took place, and the auction of a captain's uniform brought in 15,000 D-marks. A top-rated German television program had the new ferry as its centerpiece on 10 November 1973. After all these attention-grabbing events, the Prinz Hamlet came into service on the Hamburg-Harwich route on 12 November 1973. On its maiden voyage, the ship made a tough test. In the heaviest weather with gale-force winds, the new ferry proved itself admirably, as contemporary sources tell us. Passengers, however, spoke quite immodestly of the hell that fell upon the ferry from about 4 o'clock in the morning on the North Sea. The ship worked fearsomely, said one of the passengers later. Only 50 of the 250 premier guests showed up for the cold buffet in the evening. We can only speculate why they completely renounced the selected beautiful dishes on the new Prinz Hamlet. That was the Just Ferries podcast about the construction of the Prinz Hamlet. If you would like to learn more about ferries, please visit justferries.de.